We're live here on the journey. We got Miss Nora LaTorre, co-founder and CEO of Eat Real. Eat Real is, we're going to get into all of it, of what it is about. But first, who you are to me, into our short time knowing each other, but working with our organizations. And, we donate money to you guys over at Eat Real, part of our 1% for the Planet initiative. I've seen you're this like uber connected, but like force of nature. Like you have this ability, like you're always about your mission. Mm-hmm. Like I see you're globetrotting and all, like you were just at the House of Lords speaking. Like you're doing everything, but you're always about focused at the mission at hand. Like it is what I would envision someone that runs a nonprofit and is CEO of that on a global, on a solving a true global challenge that you guys are doing. And it's a real testament, and you walk the walk, and it's highly impressive.
Thank you. It's my dream job, and I feel so lucky to get to do this every day, and it's working, and we've been like heads down building this. I think you can relate. Like we've been doing the hard work, and now I'm like, this works. Let's go global, and let's make the future brighter for kids. So it's like I love this work.
Can you share, give everyone listening, like what Eat Real, who you guys are?
So Eat Real is a children's health and planet health nonprofit that believes that every child deserves a healthy, delicious future on a livable planet. We are a nonprofit that does three things. We change real food access for kids. We do that through schools. We raise real food awareness. We partner with 18 of the best chefs. We're running campaigns. IDEO just overhauled our brand, eatreal.org. We have a really pretty new website. They just did that for us pro bono. It's so nice. So we're going to be really upping our game and awareness building on the power of real food to heal children and to heal the planet. And then we do policy and advocacy. And so we're merging more and more. So we kind of work at this grassroots community-driven approach at the ground level with schools. And then we also work top down and trying to change policy at the national and state level.
When you guys go in, so you guys go and change a school. What is that process? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we have this dream that schools can be the best restaurant in town. So schools are the largest fast food restaurant chain in America, fun fact. They're bigger than Subway, Starbucks, and McDonald's combined. They're massive. They serve 7 billion meals to 30 million kids. And so schools, we think, should be the best restaurant in town because they serve the most important customers, our kids. So our vision is that schools can be the largest buyers of regenerative organic agriculture, that they can source locally, hyper-locally, and be really empowering the local economy and local farmers, that they can be cutting food waste, they can be doing recycling and composting, they can be buying in bulk, they can scratch cook, they can source culturally relevant meals, that they can cut sugar, like we're removing 10 to 25 pounds of sugar per student per year to help boost health, that they can reduce processing levels, that they can cut harmful toxic ingredients. Like what we do when we work with a school is that we actually assess them on Eat Real standards, which are rigorous science-based standards, nutrition and sustainability, and we assess them. And when we help the school food leader, that community hero, we help them create a food plan. So they get this 14-page Eat Real report. It's like, this is where you're rocking it, and these are the opportunities. So you scored really well on this on processing, but you're not sourcing very much on local, you're not doing very much organic, et cetera. So they get like this full report. But then we help them create a food action plan. And then we stand next to them and we connect them with other suppliers. We help them double down on their good suppliers. We help them work through barriers or get additional resources or connect with other nonprofits that can help on other things. And so we really then help them roll up their sleeves and make food changes. And then we reassess them. So we know the before and after on a school, and we can see they went from not even getting Eat Real certified to now they're Eat Real green level, kind of like LEED certification meets Michelin star. So, and so forth. And we do that. That process takes about 2 years. And most of our schools, then they get Eat Real green and then they go for silver. And so it's a multi-year partnership where we stand next to these communities around the country and help them overhaul their food program for schools.
These heroes, is it them driving the vision, or are you guys connecting with them to get them to buy into the change that they can make? Like, how does that, because it seems like it starts with them.
Yeah, it does start with them, 100%. Like, Eat Real is not the hero in the story. It's the heroes that we stand next to in these schools. And so there is a driving movement that's happening throughout our country right now. And there are food heroes like that are wanting to take action and wanting to take their community's health in their hands and the planet's health in their hands, and they want to deliver the best possible food for their communities. And so it's really cool because we have community change makers reaching out to us across the country. And so we've had school food, and sometimes that's a food service director. They're like the food buyer in a school, and they have a vision and they just want more support. They want more data. They want they're really hardworking people, and they like have big jobs and a lot going on. So they just need a little bigger of a team, and that's where our team can come in. And so sometimes it's a food service director reaching out to us. Sometimes it's like a go-get-em parent that calls us and is like, I am really concerned about the food that my kid's eating and all the kids, and what can I do? Eat Real, can you help? And within 12 hours, they've brought Eat Real as a resource to this happened in Southern California recently. They brought Eat Real as a resource to the food service director and said, hey, they could really help our community. Do you want to talk to them? And then that food service director signs up and gets the school involved and the PTA and the school board and whatnot. And so we have sometimes it's a doctor in a community, sometimes it's a student that reaches out to us on our website, and we get website inquiries every week. Like, can you help my school? I want to bring Eat Real to my school. Sometimes it's a rancher in Wyoming. Sometimes it's, this week, a school garden professional. Like different community leaders from around the country are raising their hand and saying, I want to be a part of this, and this works, and let's go. So
you guys are you create the plan with them, and then you're also the connective tissue for the to execute on the plan, like connecting them with the food supplier, connecting them with the farm, or like how to actually go about, because I'm assuming most of these people, when they've been buying food through a singular process for years. Yeah. That is, bought by, big ag or like lot, and it's turned into a deteriorated food system. That is, I would imagine, just junk that's facilitating this health crisis that we're seeing. Yeah. How is that? Is it getting them? Is it kind of opening up the world to them of like, this is all the new way with the current budget that you have? Yeah. Or do they need to find new money that comes in?
Yeah, it's a combo. Yeah, but it's all about like giving them the data and letting them get their baseline. And sometimes it's a food service director who just joined. They want to make their mark. Or a food service director that was doing things a standard way for 20 years, but maybe they had a new grandkid, or they had a new motivation, or they heard about, they read something, or they watched something and they were motivated, or they heard that down the street, another school district is starting to make change. But basically, we stand next to them and we help them have the data and create the plan. And then we roll up our sleeves with them, and we're like, okay, one food service director, I personally went and met with 40 other suppliers, and we were like, okay, let's get these harmful ingredients out and this toxic ingredient that leaches calcium from kids' bones. And we just went through and met with all of their suppliers. And sometimes we bring all the different food service directors together. They have monthly calls. They trade supplier notes. They trade which combi oven are you using? We bring them together, and we do what they tell us to. We're very driven by these heroes. They guide us on how we can best help them. And so it depends. It's very customized based on the community. Sometimes they need us to meet with their suppliers. Sometimes they're like, you gave me the data, I got it. I'm going to go meet with my suppliers. Actually, sometimes they call us can you get me? I need this regenerative organic item. Where can I get that? Any ideas, et cetera? So it really varies based on the school district, but we customize it and stand next to them and then help however we can.
What's the biggest challenge from a school transitioning right now? Is it what stands in their way?
Yeah, what stands in the way? Well, another question that you asked was about budgets. So one thing I want to clarify that it's really, really interesting. Some of the changes don't have to cost any money. There are swaps districts can make that don't cost a thing. Sometimes when they make changes, they can actually save money. And they also, it's kind of interesting because what we're starting to track is some schools are tasked with being profit centers. They're actually tasked with making money, which is really interesting. We don't do that with buses or other resources. And we think
the whole school or just the food?
Just the food program is supposed to make money off the food that's being sold to the kids. And
what's a lunch kind of a sidestep, but I remember when I was in school, it was like $2.
Yeah.
You buy a lunch. It hasn't risen.
No,
so they're obviously massively subsidized on the back end.
Yeah.
Correct. And school lunch still costs $2.
Yeah. Going up a little bit. So which is where our advocacy works. How do
they even expect to make money on?
Yeah, by increasing participation.
Got it.
And so that, if you have 8,000 kids in your district, but only 4,000 of the kids are eating, if we can make that food a little bit delicious and cooler, then you can increase the actual participation dollars. So what's interesting is some of our schools are found as they spend a tiny bit more. Sometimes it's only 10% more. Some of these costs don't have to cost that much more, but or if they move to bulk milk, they can actually save money. It's very interesting. They can switch to organic, but then buy in bulk and actually be cost neutral. But what's interesting is as they spend a little bit more, make investments in a chef and in higher quality ingredients, et cetera, then they can actually make more money as a school food business. So I was on a phone yesterday with one of our school partners, and they're like, I'm making money hand over fist right now. I'm reinvesting it. I'm getting a central kitchen. I'm getting a second chef. They actually paid for higher quality ingredients. The students like it more. The parents trust it and want their kids to eat there at that school meal. And they're actually making more money and then are able to reinvest it in the school food program. So there's actually a business case coming out of
that's
this.
That's what I'm hearing. It's it's like restaurant makeover.
Yes.
You guys are coming in and giving them the tools to be this is how you run an effective restaurant.
I love that.
This is what the market wants.
Yeah.
This is healthier.
Yeah.
This is take away even just the benefit on humanity.
Yeah.
This is on a business front, which to
me... In business, it works.
Yeah, because that's where my mind goes. It's it usually that's what gets in the way.
Yeah, I love and you guys that for me. It's totally a business makeover. And we're helping, but I do want to say it's these leaders that are these driving. It's so there's our kind of our approach as a nonprofit and what makes us different is we try to make it fun to change the world. But these people are the ones that are driving and changing the world, and they are figuring it out.
How many schools are you guys with right now?
Yeah, we're with 603 schools, and we can be conservatively with 1,000 in the next 2 years.
What's keeping you guys from going to 1,000, or what is allowing for that pathway to 1,000?
Well, our biggest barrier is definitely funding. So that's why your support is game changing for us because we raise philanthropic capital. So that's individuals, that's incredible companies like yourself and 1% for the Planet companies. That's we have state grants, we have USDA grants, and all of that funding. Then we offer our program free of cost to schools because we want schools to use money instead of charging them for our service. We want them to buy higher quality ingredients, pay for a chef, pay their staff more, get that central kitchen, get that warehouse, et cetera, et cetera. So every dollar that we raise then goes into us reaching more schools. So we have a huge wait list of schools. We're turning communities away right now. And it makes me so sad. And so the more money we raise, then the more we're able to reach more schools. And so that's our biggest barrier right now because there are people that want to do this around the country. You were saying it was $3,000 for each school? Yeah, on average, it's about $3,000 a year per school to help them upgrade. It's not a huge amount. No, for thousands of students. Yeah. I mean, we just wrote you guys one of our checks for the year, and it was you were it's 30 schools. Yeah. And I was that is crazy. It's actually... For a year. All the meals. Tangible, a program that puts in. So it's what is the vision here? Every school across America? Yeah. Change the food system. Let's do it. Yes. I mean, and I don't think that we necessarily need to go school by school. So I think it's yes, I think that we should. Our kids deserve it, and our kids need it to be able to learn, to feel good that day, to be able to grow, to be able to hit those academic goals, have athletic achievement, be strong members of society. Kids need better food and they deserve it. And we can talk about it in a sec, but if you want to, but we're experiencing American health collapse and it's really important that we invest in our kids. Our kids need it. I don't know that we have to go. I think in the next 2 years, we want to reach this critical mass of national impact and a footprint in 1,000 schools. But I think that we can raise the standards nationally, and we can restructure agriculture through policy change in America. And if we do that, then it'll just be the new status quo across America.
When we were talking earlier, you were saying there is absolutely no threshold for sugar in the student's diet right now.
Yeah, there was no historical standard, but we just passed it in California, the first time ever. But there was never a sugar standard in our country.
And is that there's now opportunity for that to be rolled out across the country, or is that a state by state? Can that go federal?
Yeah. Well, we wrote it in a way that says that if the USDA is reviewing, and Secretary Vilsack is considering it, and it seems like he's championing actually passing the first sugar standard ever, and we've been advocating for that at a national level. And the bill in California, which Senator Skinner championed, who's incredible, and it had unanimous bipartisan support, so it was championed across the aisle in California. That bill was written in a way that says if the U.S. government doesn't pass a sugar standard, then we'll go even higher in California. So it could then inspire the first sugar standard nationally. And if not, then at least 5 million kids in California will benefit.
What would stop that from happening? Like, it's on the surface, it's so rational. It's like, of course, we should be putting sugar standards within our children's diet.
You want me to say it? Big food, big pharma. Like, that's literally, they're blocking it.
So, yeah.
I just said it.
I mean, I was leading you there and wanted to.
It's real. It sounds like maybe it's a conspiracy theory or something like big food, but like the food lobby in America and the multiple food lobbies in America and the sugar lobby is really powerful.
How does that work? Like, do they donate money to people of power and influence their thinking? Do they do they sit on boards of organizations that should be protecting children's health? Like, what is a process that big food gets in the way of this?
Yeah.
Is
all of the above? D, all of the above. Yeah.
Is it some deeply dark methodical process that's taken place over time, or did we just kind of end up here?
It's a highly strategic approach that led us to where we are right now, and coordinated
over
and intentional.
decades.
Over decades. We've been experiencing in the last 50 years, we've had this move towards ultra processed food, and you see as the rise of ultra processed food, there's a rise in processed food related diseases. We call them heart disease and cancer and type 2 diabetes. These are processed food related disease. Mm-hmm. Processed food related disease is the number one killer globally. I don't think people know that. It's the number one reason that in 2014, lifespan in America peaked, and it's been declining 6 years prior to COVID since then, and health span is dropping too. And processed food related disease is that reason. We're the richest country in the world, yet our health span and our lifespan is collapsing, and we're giving our kids a worse life than we had. And that's not like acceptable, but it's there's been big money that's been made off of pumping processed food into our food system in America. And it happens at multiple levels, and it happens with people say follow the money, but you can track what's happened. And yes, there's food lobbies and manufacturing. Like and there are a lot of them. They're funding elections. They're funding actual agencies, like government agencies. They're funding nonprofits and silencing nonprofits and the biggest institutions in America. Like, we're up against a big battle.
What's the path out of it? Is it designing this new system? And like you talked about the youth system, food system, school system. It's the biggest food chain in the country.
Yeah.
That seems like one place if you got McDonald's, Starbucks, and Subway to all change that process, we'd be like, holy shit, this is crazy. Yeah. And it's like, that's what you guys are solving for here. Is that, it sounds like that's the solution you guys see?
Yeah, we think that if food is a problem, food is a solution for us. And so actually, Chef Jose Andres said, school food is not the problem, school food is the opportunity. And so for us, we're like, okay, well, the two top solutions to climate change are food solutions. It's waste less food, eat more plants, and then more organic and regenerative. Our soil can sequester 100% of carbon emitted annually. Like the solutions to planet health crisis are underneath our feet, and they're in our food system. And then the top driver to restore health in America is restoring our food system. And so if we restore our food system, we're like, it's the 2-for-1. You get to restore the planet's health and restore our children's health. And so if we know that changing our food system is the like cause of a lifetime, if that like that, it's the 2-for-1. If we change our food, we do those two things, then within the food system, the school food system, we think is the most powerful leverage point.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, okay, change school food, to change health, and to change planet's health.
So powerful.
That's like, yeah, in a day's work. That's our why. That's what. But when we went all in on that in 2019, and the growth has been like catalytic, and and it feels like we're about to be at this tipping point. And so like your support and people that are like your community, the plunge community, starting to back this and get involved and volunteer and donate. It's like it is happening, and we're standing up and challenging the status quo.
I'm so curious into, when did Eat Real launch?
Originally, it was founded by some of the top doctors and policy experts in 2012. Okay. And then they time-tested standards, actually defined scientific standards that define what is nutritious and sustainable food through a rigorous process. And they worked in like restaurants around the country and parks. They had like a diabetes prevention grant in Tennessee. And then I joined in 2019 and became a founder. And that's when we looked at all of our historical impact, and we're like, let's kind of restart. Let's focus. And our work within schools, we felt like was the most promising. And
how did you identify that?
We plotted out my first week of CEO. So we plotted out all of our different impacts and all the different segments, and we looked at which out of all the 7, like, you know, whether it's hospitals, park systems, restaurants, like all the different parts of the food system, which would be most impactful, and then which would be most viable, and then schools just came to the top. And then because we were founded by pediatricians, are like, obviously start with healthy habits early. Like it's not only the impact and the viability within schools in terms of numbers, but also in terms of helping the next generation develop these healthy habits early on to stop disease before it starts. Because like it was originally founded by doctors who saw how sick kids were getting in their doctor's office. And they're like, these kids are getting diseases that used to be only seen in adults. Like kids now are getting fatty liver disease and chronic kidney disease and diseases of alcoholism from food. Like this didn't used to happen. And kids are literally in the doctor's office and not on the playground. They're testing Ozempic on 6-year-olds. The American Academy of Pediatrics just said that just greenlit this year weight loss drugs on 12-year-olds and geriatric surgery for 13-year-olds. Like of the 8-year-olds in our country, 59% will be obese by the time they're 35, which is going to impact fertility. It's going to impact lifespan and health span. I think even more. We're running models right now, but it was founded by doctors who were deeply concerned, and then we decided to focus on schools because we felt like it was an upstream solution.
Mm-hmm. And you guys identified, how did you go about getting these food heroes, like knowing that was the access in? Was that like trial by error? Like you were like start calling schools, or how did you figure out?
Yeah. Well, now we've heat mapped the entire United States, and so we know where there is planet health risk, where are the health risk areas, where does ultra processed food disease disproportionately impact communities.
Where is it?
Well, we've picked 12 states that we're going to prioritize in the next 2 years, and it's like especially in like southern states. If you look at, we overlaid like what are the most food insecure states. Like in Arkansas, just got #1 most food insecure state in the country.
What does food insecure mean?
Like not having access, feeling hungry, and not having enough meals to actually be able to be nourished.
You know, you go across we're here in California.
Yeah,
we're so privileged and just like take for granted like access to food here, and drive across the country. Yeah. And it's true food deserts. Yeah. You know, it's like your best bet is the local gas station with some meat that's in a package. Totally. And so it sounds like those are the worlds that you're going after. Mm-hmm. Where does food even come from in some of these places? Like, are you sourcing from different states?
Yeah. I mean, it's exciting because food is grown throughout the country. And so it's figuring out where are the places that it is grown? Where can it be grown? Can the farmers diversify their crop and grow for this? One of our schools is pre-contracting with a farm, and they're just like they're saying, plant what you will and I'll buy it, and I'll buy it contract in advance, which is really powerful. So I think schools can help like restore farming in America, not just regenerate the planet. And so even we just launched in Tennessee, Mississippi, and Arkansas, and in the Delta, and we have an incredible grant that Senator Bozeman, ranking Republican in ag, supported to bring our program there. And they're sourcing local okra, local strawberries, local beef. Like, it is possible. And we're going to be rolling out in places with deep winter, like, you know, but we're going to, that's the idea is in the next 2 years, have proof of concept that this can work anywhere. We're showing that it is already. To answer your question from before, like, we've heat mapped the United States this year. And so to look forward and be super strategic, the last 3 years, it was really about, starting to have that proof of concept and kind of building the network. And so it actually started with Mount Diablo Unified in the East Bay in Northern California. And they were our first district. And then word of mouth happened really quickly. And then other go-getter food service directors raised their hands. And then referrals started happening between our districts. So it's like a really kind of organic process and word of mouth and then parents started reaching out on the website. And so it's interesting because it took off pretty quickly in California, but now it's taking off even faster in Tennessee. So it's like super exciting to see, but it really starts with like one food hero, one school raising their hand, having one model district that shows what's possible and kind of raises the bar and starts getting really innovative. And then it takes off. And so Mount Diablo went from not getting green level to then getting silver and going towards gold. So, and has on their wall in their office, it's like all the local suppliers that they're sourcing from across all the different commodities and different food items. It's so cool. So yeah, that's how it.
You guys are creating like you're creating such a huge incentive structure for farms to transition too.
Yeah.
It's like, there's a consumer interest in regenerative farming and, you know, organic and those practices that are going into it. But you guys are the biggest food chain in America. Yeah. And have you seen that happen? Have you seen farms that have shifted because, like, talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like, we say schools can be the largest buyers of regenerative organic agriculture, and we're working to make it happen. In addition to going school by school, you know, our schools have self-organized and they have monthly calls. And this happened organically in the Delta, and it's happening on the West Coast. They call themselves the Eat Realies or the Eat Real Collective. Like, they just named themselves. They have their own charter. We host and like we do whatever they ask, but they're really self-organizing, which is really, really cool. But they also asked us to host a conference. So we hosted what I think was the largest regenerative organic conference. And so they said, we want to get together and we want to learn together and we want to make plans and set goals together. And we are working within our districts, but we also want to trade notes with other like-minded leaders. And we want to be a part of this like community of change makers. So we're like, cool, let's do that. And that's like, we try to be really responsive. And so they beamed us to do that. So we did it. And out in Nevada City, actually, we hosted it. And we are on Carrie Richards' ranch. And I don't know if you know that rancher, but her dad said, you're not going to grow grass on this ranch. And she said, watch me. She's a force. Talk about force in nature. Like, she is a very strong rancher. And so what we did was the head of the California Department of Food and Ag came. We had a top chef there. Jennifer Siebel Newsom came. Our California government came. We had lawmakers. We had school leaders from across the state come. It was 70 leaders. They represented, I think 120 million meals that they provide to students across that group. And we all went on the ranch and we got to see 100 types of native grasses growing. We got to see hawks flying overhead. We got to see a family that was empowered with, you know, a new way of or kind of an old way of farming, but a better way of farming. And the school leaders, we all worked together, and every single leader that came on that farm made a pledge to source more regenerative organic food. 100% of people there. And then a month later, we had a follow-up call with all of them, and they were doing it. And they're sourcing now. One of the food leaders, who's a little more reserved, said, you know, that was regenerative to my soul. And so it was so we plan now, that's part of our playbook, is like these moments of inspiration. And what was cool was that they're sourcing all sorts of regenerative organic. That school leader that said that, she just got Eat Real certified, and she created a whole map of all these organic farms now that she's sourcing from. So she took it across all these different fruits and vegetables and and proteins, and she's like so bought in. And so we're still measuring all that. We've generated about 645,000 extra pounds of sustainably sourced produce alone this year through those types of commitments. But what was cool is after now a year later, that event and then those pledges and those schools have generated over $1 million extra to grass-fed ranchers. This is just in California. So, and what's cool is that one of the suppliers for that actually had to go and get other ranchers to start doing grass.
To meet up.
Yeah,
to meet the demand.
to start to meet the
So
certification.
the demand's there.
Yeah.
It's like.
Well, and it's kind of like stirring up the demand while you're also running around and getting the supply ready.
Mm-hmm. What, from the school perspective, like when a school takes over, what are some of the stats you guys have seen for the shift in the nutrition of that the kids are getting?
We just analyzed, because we're very data driven, and we're actually launching a partnership with Stanford next month to research and do even more data analysis. But we actually just pulled together all of our data across the districts, and we can map and see processing levels, like the whole thing across everything. But our schools together have just this year blocked 1 million pounds of added sugar from being flooded into kids' diets.
1 million pounds of added sugar has been pulled out.
Yeah, we should count how many plunges that could fill. Because kids eat a bathtub, a plunge worth of added sugar a year.
A bathtub of added sugar a year through the current.
Yeah, just in their daily diets.
That's
America.
the common diet.
Yeah, they used to eat we used to eat 4 pounds of added sugar, and now kids are eating 64 pounds of added sugar a year. Yeah, in our program it was 10 to 25 pounds of added sugar per year in schools. But cumulatively, all those changes that they've made of swapping from super sugary yogurt to Greek yogurt with cut fruit, or just making instead of the muffin having 25 grams of added sugar, which is more than a kid should have in a day, just having 7, and it still tastes really good. There's still really good local muffins, but just making some upgrades like that, still making it delicious, etc. They blocked 1 million pounds of added sugar across the schools.
That's crazy.
They've added 7.1. They've made 7.1 million plant-powered options available to kids. So that's Thai lentil basil burgers and beet poke bowls and cauliflower tea masala and really delicious items available to kids.
Wow. So is sugar the biggest item that you guys are looking for first? Or?
I mean, sugar is the one that's not regulated right now, right? Now it will be next year, but that's the one that's the Wild West a little bit. It's just that sugar is the one that's unregulated, so we can make a big difference there. But we have over 10 standards that then look at everything from the sustainability and the nutrition. So that's looking at sugar, yes. Also looking at harmful toxic ingredients, they ban way more in Europe than they do here. And so looking at certain artificial preservatives and flavorings and dough conditioners and things that shouldn't be in kids' food. Looking at processing levels, looking at food waste policies and food waste measures, looking at recycling, really looking at high quality proteins, looking at, we really look holistically at the food program, and sugar is one piece of it.
Mm-hmm. How did sugar become so prevalent in the diet?
Yeah, I was just I'm a nerd, so I was nerding out on sugar import data and and we're working on some visualization on this. How did it become so prevalent?
How did we get here? It's like a terrible movie. We're poisoning.
It's fairly cheap.
Ourselves. Yeah. Our children, ourselves, all of it.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of in this situation.
Yeah.
What?
It's also super addictive.
Is that intentional? It's being put in to make some of these processed foods more addictive.
Yeah.
It's also, you said it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
All of that
it's being
together.
Engineered.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's profitable. It's highly profitable. Mm-hmm. It sells really well. They're saying more and more research is coming out pointing to that sugar will be the new tobacco. And we're giving it to our kids, in terms of harm. Yes, lung cancer is one of the biggest killers in America for cancer, but processed food related diseases kills more people.
Way more people.
And it's hurting our kids. And it literally, Dr. Gorin, who wrote Sugar Proof, which is a really good book, and I have a call with him tomorrow catching up, he just said that too much added sugar shrinks brain size. So imagine what it does to kids. And then we're learning like way more about brain gut microbiome. I have a podcast coming out with Dr. Naidu, who's one of the top Harvard nutritional psychiatrists. And, you know, she's unlocking, and a lot of the research is coming out about the brain gut microbiome, and if we're feeding our kids sugar and feeding them bad microbiome, and then what that does to the amygdala and to their mental health. And 95% of our serotonin, the feel-good hormone, is made in our guts. So if we're feeding kids not high quality real food and we're feeding them a lot of sugar, it's really hurting their mental health and their brain development. And
are you tracking some of these diseases that we're seeing in school and like where the kids are going?
Yeah.
Do you guys have enough data yet?
Yeah, we are going to have some really powerful data visualization coming out in 2024. So it's like really sad and really shocking.
I mean, it's got to get to a point where it's almost illegal. Like know, it's like if the data's there into what this is doing for kids, it's like if you don't get in the program, like there has to be a complete I get it.
I think parents see it. I have 2 little kids, and you see it like when kids go to a birthday party or they have like too much sugar in a day, like they're like, we say, oh, they're bouncing off the walls. Like you see it. You see the sugar crash and you see them get angry and want more. And like you see it. And it's not like kids can't ever have sugar or we should have celebration food. Like that's fine. But it's literally hurting their development because they're eating so much of it. Like we did one analysis, and by the standard American breakfast alone of like a muffin, flavored yogurt, juice, which doesn't have fiber and is then a free sugar. There's added sugar, but that's a free sugar. The kids get 4 times the amount of sugar they're supposed to have in the whole day by just breakfast. And then they're supposed to like go to school and learn and whatnot. So sugar is just like, there are 250 names for sugar in our food system, like, you know, syrups and agaves and cane sugar, and it's just like it's so hidden and it's pervasive, and it sells.
When did it really start? Like what? I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I would assume I know I grew up in that timeline.
Yeah. In the last 50 years, we've seen like this huge rise in ultra-processed food, but it started, you know, after Depression and subsidizing certain commodities. Like in America, we really subsidized corn, wheat, soy, sugar, and then those are then what commodities are more affordable. And so it started around that. But the problem, what's exciting is that the White House is taking this seriously. When we helped advise on the first White House Hunger, Nutrition, and Health Conference, and they're talking now about food security, which is, it's one thing to like have food, but that's maybe it's low quality, but they're talking now about nutrition security, which is a whole other thing of like, do people have enough nutrients that they need to function and feel good? 93% of Americans are cardiometabolically sick. Like America is walking around not feeling great. So
who's guiding that? Is that a bunch of like high level nutritionists getting involved there? Like obviously we have
more. We need some more. Yeah. And that's why Eat Real, we work with like the top doctors in the world, just guiding our science and making sure that we're going to be publishing a lot more coming out.
Because you said you're big into policy. And that's like seems like that's
we're underdogs in policy. We're like kind of, you know, a little stealth. But we're highly impactful. Yeah, we helped publish the first sugar standard ever. So.
Yeah, I mean that's even more like what you're doing at each school.
Yeah,
there's so much work that goes into that.
Yeah,
you rewrite policy.
Yeah,
you can change things overnight.
Totally, which I'm really excited about that work.
Yeah,
and I do think what I know is that politicians do listen to their constituents. Like they're looking at, will the public support this? So the more people that back Eat Real, the more public support that we have, we can go to government and say, people want this. The more schools we're in, the more people that are on our newsletter, the more people that, you know, are raising their voice and telling their friends about Eat Real, like the more that we can really make the case to politicians that this is the will of America.
I wasn't there, but we donated a plunge to a school. That was like a big part of this program is we wanted to get the actual, like the food systems transforming, and we wanted like the actual physical transformation that can take place from a plunge. So we went down, we dropped it off at a school yesterday. Tell me about how that went.
Yeah, so Eat Real, we're all about nourishing the future. And so we really focus on nourishing the future and nourishing kids in the lunchroom. But we know that like the lunchroom then can help fuel better athleticism and better overall health for the kids. And so we love it when we get like connected with the athletic team. And so it was really cool that the plunge donated one plunge to the Live Oak High School and Morgan Hill Unified, and their athletic director was so stoked. He was like so happy. I read all the emails. He was like, yes, absolutely. And our food service director there, Michael, was so excited. And so yesterday our teams went down and they did the install, and the kids, the students were just so excited. And now I heard that the other high school in the district wants one. And so I'm like, okay, well, like there's like, it's already a buzz about it. And it's so cool. And the one high school that now the other kids in the other high school want it. And so I think it's really exciting to be able to think about just like holistically investing in the students' health, from like you're investing in Eat Real to help make the food better. And now you're putting infrastructure in, and they have a whole new plunge that can like just teach. It's about stress. It's about their athletic performance. It's about taking their health seriously and taking a minute of wellness and whatnot. So yeah, I think it's just so cool. And our other school districts also, word travels fast. So rumor is that now a bunch of schools want plunges. So
that's incredible. I mean, that was a big, when we were with Kiss the Ground too. So Kiss the Ground's our other partner that's totally on the regenerative farming side, transforming the farms. So we've gotten some plunges out to farmers.
Cool.
And so we wanted, that was a big part of this, is we wanted plunges to land, be a part of the transformation process. Like the land's transforming in the farm, the school's transforming here, and then there's this individual transformation. So I'm stoked to hear, you'll have to keep me in the loop of how the students come together around it, the resilience that's built, the community that's built around doing that.
Totally. I will keep you updated. I know that they were so thankful. So thank you. They were like so happy.
Thanks for championing that and getting that in.
Totally. Excited to get them in some more schools. So.
What would be, there's obviously some that are like huge systematic changes that have to happen.
Yeah.
What's a policy overnight that could unlock a lot of things?
Yeah. I have a TED Talk and a TEDx on that we can eat climate change. I like pull a fork out of my hair. It's a very Little Mermaid moment inspired by my daughter, but I'm like, your fork is the most powerful weapon against climate change. And in that talk, I say like all eyes should be on the Farm Bill, which Farm Bill is one of the most important pieces of legislation. It happens every 5 years. And there's some great innovation that can happen out of that. And that's about subsidizing things like regenerative organic vegetables and regenerative organic items and supporting that through that bill, because we do subsidize food, and then we subsidize paying for the disease it makes. But in the healthcare dollars, like $4 trillion or 16% of our GDP is spent on healthcare dollars, which 75% of that is preventable processed food-related disease. So if we just didn't subsidize low quality, low nutritional items, and we subsidize higher nutritional items, and that were better for the planet, then we would have so many gains. So I think Farm Bill is one really exciting place. There's some really, not only Americans only eat, 7% of kids eat the vegetables they're supposed to eat in a day, fruits and veg. Like 9% of adults. Like, so if we subsidize different items and made it affordable and accessible.
Is there enough? What would need to happen? Let's say it does happen.
Yeah.
The dollars get transferred over.
Yeah.
All those farms get access to it, already the organic farms.
Yeah.
Is there enough infrastructure right now to support? What needs to happen from an infrastructure standpoint to support that amount of food coming out across our country?
Yeah. Well, there needs to be demand, so we all need to want to eat it, and that. So that's like where our awareness building work comes in, and like cultural change work comes in. But I mean, we do need to make some investments. But harvest, farmers are making change, and there are farmers that are doing it around the country, and especially the youth. There is that youth demand. So yes, there are other supporting investments that I would make. You said I was only the Secretary of Ag, though. You didn't say that I was.
I said head of Ag.
I'm not also the president. There are more things I would do as president, but for under the Ag scope, I think Farm Bill. I think looking at some of the child nutrition, like higher standards, and also which like the USDA is looking at, which we can encourage. And which people can sign up for our newsletter. And then as there's an opportunity to raise their voice, then we can tap them into those opportunities. But transform the Farm Bill, not only regenerative organic vegetables, but also food waste, also looking at some other measures there. more investment in school food infrastructure and putting kitchens back in schools because we took them out. In higher reimbursement rates, like we don't pay, like you said, like the meals are like we don't reimburse. We're not paying the true cost of the food. So to pay for more, and we know like when schools get, which in California they just did, in some other states too, in the Delta too, they're starting to get some extra dollars to spend on local produce. Like that kickstart them to start buying local produce. So some more investments in that. So higher standards, more investment, but generally it's like farm bill, higher standards, and more investments in infrastructure are like three things that would make massive change. We also need the different agencies. There are like 15 agencies, but this is going beyond my egg crown then. But they that regulate food. So looking at how does the FDA talk to the EPA, which talks to the USDA, and actually having an interagency food council is something that we're calling for, where there is coordination, regulation, and that we're not, subsidizing one thing that doesn't go in with the EPA goals, and that there's actually an integrated approach to agriculture and food in America.
Incredible.
Those would be the two. Those are two big things.
Yeah, we're going to run for office.
It's a really hard job. I love leaders that do, and I love the youth that are starting to run for office. I'm like so excited for people to get more involved in our political landscape. But I would like to support. I like to support other leaders. That's my thing. So I love supporting leaders that are visionary, and I don't need to run.
What?
So if anyone wants to run and is going to work on this, I'm
you.
Game.
You'll support.
I love being a wing woman. I'm like, I'm game.
What? I'm curious, like more on the personal side. What is your day-to-day like as the CEO of this nonprofit? What do you get into for people that have a nonprofit?
Yeah.
Want to get in, maybe launch one?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah, it's hard work, but I love it. I love it. What does it look like? I mean, I also like that it varies so much. Like my everyday is different, and but I have a rock star team, and they are incredible. And we're kind of like the best of a for-profit and a nonprofit, and we're really intentional because we're kind of a startup nonprofit and scaling really quickly. But how do we be a different kind of nonprofit? Like we make it fun to change the world, and those values go internally. So it's like a lot of what I do is like I have an incredible chief of staff, and she's actually a former Rivian Mozilla exec. And she said she just started 4 months ago, and she's like, we got done more in the 4 months that I've been here than I did in 4 years in tech, which I was like, yes. But with that, we also try to be like boundaried, and I go pick up my kids from school and whatnot. But yeah, what does a day-to-day look like? I mean, it looks like engaging with my team, my rockstar team, and like we're dialed.
Remote team, or do you guys have that?
We're fully remote. We do meet up, and we we'll meet up on farms, and we'll go have school lunch, and we'll meet up ahead of time with all of our and whatnot. But what a day-to-day looks like is like we're super dialed. So we have our 3-year vision, our 3-year goals. We have our annual goals. Like we run in a lot of ways like a startup. We have very clear KPIs, and we're moving to Asana. Like, so we're like checking the Asana, looking at across all of our different functions, our K through 12 program team, our awareness and policy work, our infrastructure work, and our organization. So it's about making sure that we're dialed on our annual goals, our quarterly goals, our monthly goals, and then we do weekly big rocks. I don't know if you've heard of that idea.
We run an EOS system.
Okay, yeah.
So
we have
all that. Quarterly rocks.
No, but big rocks is like I like that concept of like if you don't put the big rocks in the jar first, they won't all fit. So it's like every week we're like, what are the biggest things we have to do this week if we're gonna really move the needle? So we look at a day in the life is like work with my rockstar team, make sure we're dialed on what we said we want to do, or adjust if we need to. And then it's a combination of meeting with funders, talking to our school food folks. They text me, they have a direct line to me. We talk regularly, talking to farmers. Today I was on a Tufts nutrition security call on the drive over here. So working on policy efforts and in collaboration with other nonprofits, and partnership building. So it ranges, but it's generally like, a lot of fundraising, a lot of impact, and then community building with our board and our team and whatnot.
Where do you guys look for, where does fundraising come from for you?
Yeah, so we have a mix right now heavily on angel donors, like individuals
talks that you give, they get inspired.
They one of our donors just said, like, there's no better place to put $1 than an Eat Real, which I was like, thank you for saying that. So, like, referrals between our donors of being like, this is the most worthy cause. Like, they stretch every dollar. Like, when our donors say that to other donors and, like, invite their friends to get involved, that matters a ton. Actually, like, LinkedIn has been an incredible resource for me as a leader in fundraising, which I, like, love LinkedIn, so I'm on there a lot. Talks that I give and showing up in different conferences and whatnot. Done, like, 9 main stage talks this year, so, like, that has, like, generated a lot of interest. So individual is number one, and, like, corporate partners, like 1% for the Planet, Plunge backs us, Oxo, Patagonia, so some, like, and we're really picky about what companies we work with, just because a lot have interest and there might be some conflict of interest there, and they might try to influence us, and I know that's, like, not how any of the 1% for the Planet companies roll, and so we actually do turn away, like, corporate partnerships if they have ulterior motives or, like, if it's not values aligned. So corporate partner, we have a few core ones, and we're really selective about those. And then government grants. So we're USDA funded. We're California Department of Food and Ag funded. We have farm to school grants, et cetera. So it's, like, kind of a combination of big grants, and we want to grow those angel donors and corporates.
Okay. How can anyone listening?
Yeah.
Where do they go to learn more? Where do they go to support on, like, a fundraising? Can someone just write you guys a $10 check?
Yeah, totally. That matters so much to us. Like, our community donors, sometimes people write us an $18 check, like, for good luck. Or they write us, or they may become a monthly donor is huge, even if it's $1 a month. Like, that really matters to us. And so people can just go to eatreal.org/donate. They can go to eatreal.org and subscribe to our newsletter. We're Eat Real certified on social. I'm on LinkedIn, Nora LaTorre, or Nourished with Nora on Instagram. They can connect with me there.
What a good name, Nourished with Nora. That's good.
Thanks. Yeah, podcast coming out soon with that, so I'm excited about that.
Your own pod.
Yeah, we're going to have some of the top doctors on it.
What's that called?
Nourished with Nora. Yeah, it's coming out next week. Yeah, and actually, Dr. Lustig, our Chief Science Officer, is going to be on Huberman on December 18th, so that'll be out. That'll all be on our website too, of, like, all the different resources and whatnot. So yeah, but people can give at eatreal.org and join us in the conversation.
Love it. So, kind of ended here. 2025 goal is $1 billion of purchasing power towards schools.
Yeah.
Where's 2030 at?
Ooh, we don't exist because we did our job. I think that we could sunset, and we've, like, changed, like, Americans demand real food, and it's just part of our culture, and we've changed policy in America, and we've raised the standard, and we are so dedicated to it that we don't go back, and Eat Real doesn't exist because it's happening.
It's not a long horizon. It's like a true change.
It's possible. I mean, if it happened in 50 years and we've seen this health collapse and planet health collapse, like, we can regenerate. I love that the Paul Hogan quote, that we can regenerate our planet in one generation. Like, change happens slowly, and then it can happen quickly. So, like, that, 7 years, we could do that. There are goals to end diet-related disease and hunger by 2030. Like, if Americans can get it done. Like, when Americans put their heart to something, like, what's more important than our kids' health? So, and our planet's health. Like, this idea, what I said, like, Eat Real believes that every child deserves a healthy, delicious future on a livable planet. Like, I want that in 2030.
Yeah, I remember when we were seeking our partners for, where we wanted our money to go to at Plunge. It was literally like your mission statement was like what Mike and I were like, we want someone that's transforming children's food in the food system in public schools. Like, that was kind of like private school, but public school is what we were looking at. And I remember Shelly, our director of HR, is like, there's this organization called Eat Real. I was like, I don't even know I think we committed
she found us through LinkedIn too. Or no, 1% for the Planet, but also LinkedIn. Yeah, she was amazing. I loved her.
The mission just fits so perfectly. And so it's, it's so fun to be able to support you guys. Thank you for letting us in.
Oh my goodness.
And being a part of it. And, and knowing that our money is going to this type of thing and, like, a direct impact. thank you for your commitment to like, I look at people like you that are like truly solving things that I have fear about, like you said, health collapse, planetary collapse, like all these factors.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Well, I just want to say like, thank you. Our team, our whole team is grateful. Like you are literally funding us to be able to do this work and reach more communities and more kids and stand and make this change and make it possible. And our work is not possible without the plunge and your support. So you were a massive boost to us in 2023, and I'm so excited to make a big difference with you all in 2024 and beyond. So
awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for sharing everything today.
Yeah.
People are listening. Check it out. Eat Real. The change in the world.
Yeah. Doing it.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Thank you.